This week, I'm joined by Dave Driver, Finance Director at Southampton Football Club. Obviously, great local brand. Dave joined Deloitte in London to start with, and then moved over to Saints Financial Accountant about 11 years ago.
Yep, that's right, yeah.
And sort of subsequently worked your way through a couple of positions up to where you are now as FD for the last 18 months,
Yep,
give or take.
that's right.
So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about dealing with change from a finance perspective, a topic Dave knows very well. Obviously, unfortunately, the club here have endured a difficult 24-25 season, but for the purpose of a conversation, the confirmed relegation over the last week or so does provide some context. So welcome to the balance sheet with me, Andrew Murkitt, and Dave Driver. So firstly, Dave, as a Saints fan, could you have envisaged a better job in finance?
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think so. I think when I started out as an accountant at Deloitte, I think if someone had said to me I could be the FD at the club I supported as a kid, kind of 10 years later, then I would have bitten someone's arm off for it. So yeah, really happy to be here. It's a great job, very varied, obviously has its ups and downs. But yeah, I think as a Saints fan, it is great. It's brilliant to be working here.
And you mentioned obviously ups and downs, which is what we're going to talk about. I alluded in the introduction about the fact, unfortunately, the relegation has been confirmed over the last couple of weeks. Over the next few months, is that likely to affect your job and the finance team sort of day to day?
Yeah, quite significantly. I think this time compared to 2 years ago when we were relegated, it's probably the only silver lining of being relegated so early, is that it has made our job slightly easier. Normally we'd be budgeting kind of for a Championship and a Premier League scenario next year. This year we've obviously only really been focusing on the kind of relegation budget for a while. And so from that perspective, it's been slightly easier. Obviously, the next couple of months, we will be spending a lot of time with Johannes Spord, the new Group Technical Director, looking at transfer strategies for the summer. So when we were relegated last time, we had to obviously sell quite a lot of players to bring in the money because obviously your broadcasting income falls away. So we're going to have probably a similar summer ahead of us. So we want to be planning that as early as possible, getting the right strategy in place, making sure we know what we need to do from a financing perspective, and ultimately kind of plugging through a load of different scenarios as to what we think might happen. And obviously it's terrible that we've been relegated so early, but it does mean we can plan a bit earlier. I think when we were promoted last year, with it happening in the playoff game right at the end, we had a very short window to actually be able to plan for promotion and what we wanted to do. Whereas I think this year we have a longer run in, so we'll be able to get ahead of what we want to do early. And
is budgeting, from a finance perspective, is budgeting and forecasting probably the biggest challenge or the biggest difference on the sort of fluctuating league and potentially divisional positions?
Yeah, one of them, I think, so we spend a lot of time budgeting, forecasting and plugging through different scenarios kind of all season. And it is challenging, especially where the money is so materially different from the Premier League to the Championship, how you kind of navigate through that and make sure that you're going to be kind of successful for the next 12 months and then hopefully bounce back with another promotion next year is incredibly difficult. Alongside that, kind of one of the other complications is the different regulatory environment. So we're obviously over the last before we relegated last time, very familiar with what we need to do in the Premier League, and anything we needed to do for UEFA when we were qualified for the Europa League. Moving down to the Championship, they have a different regulatory environment. So there's different things for us to submit, slightly different nuances to what we submit when we submit it, and kind of how detailed the analysis is that they do on it. So that brought with it a lot of challenges last year. I guess where we were there so recently, having not been there for a while before last time, the last relegation, we're a bit more familiar with what we need to do. So we're kind of fully up to speed with all the requirements in the Championship, which again will make that transition slightly easier than it was last time.
And is it, because obviously 12 months ago, it was, I guess, the flip in terms of the promotion. So does that make things easier, or does that make your job, is your job the same depending on, because obviously there's more money there, but you still have to sort of prepare the budgets and forecast the same, if that makes sense?
Yeah. To be honest, it's not really too different. I think what we're doing at the club and what we've been trying to do kind of particularly over the last 12 to 18 months is grow everything off the pitch as much as possible. So There's loads of commercial things going on. We're obviously in the new Nightwood Lounge today. We're trying to develop all of our different hospitality suites, and we built the fan zone this year. We put in the safe standing. So we're trying to do lots of things off the pitch. And getting promoted as opposed to relegated means there is more opportunities to do more of that. There is more cash available, which is brilliant for the club. Obviously, that brings kind of additional workload and extra challenges for us. So whilst getting promoted financially is great, and is a lot better because we try and do much more, it does mean that our workload can be kind of increased as a result of that. Whereas being relegated, we still want to try and grow off the pitch and do what we can off the pitch, alongside the same time having kind of all the player trading requirements that we'll probably have this summer. And then you've got more fixtures in the Championship, so there's more games to prepare for. Every game that we participate in, we have to submit a finance return to the Football League for, so there's more requirements in that respect. So there's different requirements being in the Championship and the Premier League, and kind of different workloads as a result, but I wouldn't say one is less than the other.
It's interesting. I think a lot of sports clubs, like going slightly off piece with the questions we spoke about, but a lot of the sports clubs we've spoke to, we work with a couple of others locally, and all are trying to really invest, as you say, in that hospitality, this sort of thing. Do you notice, obviously there's more money available to do the work on the promotion, but do you notice sort of when the club's doing well, that the uptake on some of the bars, restaurants, it is more, or does that not really change?
Yeah, it does. I mean, our hospitality team probably have an easier job selling the lounges when the team's performing well. So yeah, it definitely does have an impact. And yeah, when you're winning, more fans want to come before the game more than want to stay after the game. So it does make a big difference. Obviously, last year when we were relegated, we actually had a very successful season. Sold out most of the games. All of our away games sold out. And I think fan sentiment was so good last year that we're hoping it will be similar next year. And hopefully we'll be able to bounce back even stronger than we did last time. So yeah, it does definitely have an impact. But yeah, the more obviously the more wins you get, the more people want to be here. So
well, that's it. I guess it swings and roundabouts, right? Because people, when it's a Premier, if you're working on the basis that sort of you're going to be either the bottom end of the Premier League or the top end of the Championship, as much as people want to be in the Premier League, you're probably winning more when you're in the Championship. Yeah. So it swings and roundabouts. And you mentioned there, to those that don't know, obviously Southampton are part of a sort of a multi-club model. Do you talk to your finance counterparts at the other clubs quite a lot and liaise with them?
Yeah, and increasingly so. So obviously bought Castepe a couple of years ago and then acquired Valenciennes at the start of last season. And we're kind of developing that process constantly. So we look after the overall Sport Republic financials. So we prepare the financial statements. Then we have the audit on our side, which is the consolidated numbers for all the groups, and then also the Mali entity out in Africa. So we're reliant on them giving us the information. We have at least monthly calls with them to run through their finances, look at their budgets and what they've got upcoming. And then where we look after the kind of overall Sport Republic finances, we're responsible for paying any money over to them if they need equity injections or need any loans passed to them. Then we'll be the ones that will administer all of that, kind of via dialogue with the clubs themselves, and then also some of our ownership group. So yeah, we're heavily involved with them. And kind of over the last couple of years, from a kind of sporting and performance perspective, we're trying to integrate them as much as possible. So we have guys from our kind of medical team will go over there, give them assistance, share expertise and knowledge. So kind of how we account for that and look after who's kind of paying for different things is all comes to us. So yeah, we do have quite a lot of involvement with them. They're all really nice guys. Giuseppe have been having a great season. It's been really good to see. Valenciennes less so, but again, hopefully they'll be able to push on next year.
And I guess you mentioned one of the challenges with your job from a change perspective is the regulation. I guess all those clubs have their own regulations as well, which is another challenge.
Exactly, and particularly for Valenciennes, the French authorities are pretty strict. I don't know, you might not have seen Bordeaux were relegated a couple of years ago, and then the DNCG, they're called, which is their kind of equivalent of the kind of the FA, they relegate them again when they went into administration. So the French authorities are very hot, so they come under a very strict requirement. We need to kind of be involved, be up to speed with kind of what's going on there. So yeah, it's quite all encompassing. And hopefully those relationships will just continue to grow.
Lots of change.
Yeah, exactly that.
midway through the Premier League season, there is a January transfer window where clubs have the ability to buy and sell players again mid-season. We've spoke sort of on and off dialogue many times during the January transfer window. You've always said it's quite a busy time for you.
Yep.
I guess, what are the unique challenges with that? And is it as crazy as it looks on Sky Sports News?
Yes, it can be. So I left the office at 1:30 a.m. on deadline day this year. So yeah, it is as crazy as that a lot of the time. Some years it will be a lot quieter on the actual deadline day, but busy kind of in the lead up to it. But yeah, I think the kind of the challenges that we have is, and it's a positive thing. So where we are kind of very involved in the player trading process from finance, so we help drive kind of the financial scenarios, and we give a lot of assistance to our board and ownership as to the impact of what we would do if we were to sell player A, buy player B, extend the contract for so and so, and then we also, like personally, all of the kind of transfer agreements and player contracts and agents agreements all come via myself for review, alongside our kind of transfer review panel, which includes our legal team and club secretary. So very involved. On deadline day itself, it varies when there's a lot going on, which has been the case for the last few years. It is pretty relentless, just all day reviewing one agreement, send it back, review another one, send it back. Pretty much from kind of 7 a.m. through to, like I said, through to kind of 1:30 a.m. This time, and often it's like that in the kind of the week leading up to it. So it is very full on. It also comes at the same time as our interim audit typically. So we have to prepare numbers to the 31st of December for the Premier League and for the EFL. So we get audited kind of around the end of January, start of February. So the whole team is kind of pretty busy and pretty full on with that. And then obviously every time we do buy someone or sell someone, there's our team have got to process payments, got to send out invoices, chase debts. And then in the last few years, we've kind of financed and factored a few of the transfers that we've made. So it's very, even once the kind of the deals are confirmed, there's still kind of weeks worth of work after that, trying to make sure that we get all the money in and managing our cash flow for the next kind of 12, 18, 24 months on the back of that. So yeah, it's very full on.
Are there particular clubs, I'm not naming any names, that are difficult to get money out of?
Yes, I'd say, yeah, some of the overseas clubs have been more difficult in recent years than previously. We're lucky in England, in the Premier League and the EFL, there are rules whereby clubs pretty much have to pay, and if they don't, then they face pretty severe consequences. They're probably less well enforced overseas. So there's been a number of occasions where we've had to kind of engage FIFA or come close to engaging FIFA, and ultimately got all the money in eventually, but it can be quite a painful process sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so you have to sign off on any transfer?
So myself and our kind of general counsel and club secretary will all kind of have final agreement on what the actual agreements look like, and then it'll go back to our ownership, will then obviously sign on the dotted line and move forward.
Are there any you've thought, I don't know about this one?
No, I wouldn't like to say. No, they're all I have to trust the scouting team, that they know what they're doing. But yeah, no, I mean, I think player trading's been such a key part of what we've done since I've been here in the 11 years, and it's really going back to kind of what you were saying earlier around sports clubs investing off the pitch. I think our player trading model has been where we've kind of differentiated ourselves, probably a bit more kind of a few years ago, but that's where we found success, and that's when we were successful in the Europa League, it was on the back of a really successful player trading model. So it is really important to us as a business to get it right, and I'm really confident going forwards that we've got the right structures and teams in place to be able to do that.
Always used to hear about the mythical black box.
The black box, yeah.
Did it exist?
Yeah, it did exist. It does exist. I was in a meeting there the other day. Nothing to do with the black box. We just happened to be in there, but it does exist. Yeah, No, it's I think it's a shame it doesn't get quite as much PR as it used to, because that used to probably add a few millions to some of the players we used to sell, I think.
Yeah, good. And football's a game of up and downs. Finance is sort of, the focus is managing risk, and obviously there's some things will go well, some things won't go well. It's the nature of the beast. How do you, I guess, sort of when something hasn't gone to plan as or expected, how do you manage that personally and also the wider finance team?
I think personally, in my role, it's really important to try and stay as calm as possible under pressure, and to convey that to my team as well. So I don't want them to be panicked or feel concerned or uncertain about anything. So try and stay as calm as possible myself and try and reassure them as much as possible. Most of the team are Saints fans, or if they're not Saints fans, they are very quickly ingratiated into just being 100% behind the club and wanting Saints to succeed. So everyone is really bought into the success as fans and also as employees. So I think it's really important to stay calm. As much as is possible, try and be as open and honest, and making sure that if something hasn't gone well, that it's kind of understood what might have led to that, or try and build from it. So often I'll try and say to my team, if something hasn't worked out how we want it to, or if there's something that's not done how we want it, then use it as an opportunity to do something differently. Or if someone looks to leave our team or something like that, then you use it as an opportunity to do things differently. Or can we reshape the team slightly differently? Or can we look to develop on what we're doing, change our processes slightly, and always look to improve on the back of kind of something that's not worked out as you want.
Yeah, and the other thing that comes with probably your uniquely the football environment, you mentioned about workload earlier. I guess all of the team have to sort of muck in during busy periods, and how do you sort of manage that from a motivational point of view, but also resource point of view? Yeah,
I'm really lucky that I've got a really engaged, positive, and a really a team that's very willing to work, and they have a great work ethic, and they are willing to kind of do anything for the club. We're also very fortunate that most of our team has got a very long kind of length. Our average length of service in our team is great, which is typically because most people love it here and most people want to succeed for the club. So yeah, they are very willing, and they're great. They will all muck in, like you said, and help out in times of stress and times of need. Particularly kind of in the last 24 months where there has been quite a lot of change, and trying to navigate our way through that. Everyone does really muck in with and help each other out as much as they can. So yeah, it's really great to see, and I'm very thankful for my team. They're all great. Oh. So we've spoke a lot about sort of the change and the football and hospitality side of things, Dave. I guess one area that being a local business, one area we're aware of, but not everyone nationally might be aware of, is sort of the Saints Foundation work in the community. Tell us a bit about that. Yeah, so the Saints Foundation are great. I think obviously as a football club, we are here to support the local community as well, but that's been kind of, I guess, not quite as easy in the last couple of years where success hasn't been what we've wanted it to be. So the work the foundation does and do is great. They cover work from young children all the way through to the elderly, all sorts of different programs. They visit schools. They're helping out kind of with kids who are struggling at school. They help out with the elderly. They help out with people who've got mental health issues. They cover a wide variety of things, and they do it really well. Always positive, always engaged, and always just looking to give as much back to the local community as possible. And is there, and I think you're probably a good person to answer this, why is that sort of an important part of the sort of the mission of the football club? I think it's really important because ultimately a football club is there for the fans. It is there for the local community. I think it is really important that with all the money that does come into the game, that a lot of it does go back to the fans, directly or indirectly. I think what the community does, it's really great that the community kind of being linked or being associated with the football club can use kind of like the buy-in of the football club and use the players and things like that to help out what they need to do. I think in their most recent kind of foundation report, they generated over £7 million worth of social value, which is kind of an assessment as to the kind of economic well-being that's been brought by the work that they do. That's kind of the knock-on effect of improving people's health, well-being, getting them back out to work, and things like that. So I think for every £1 the foundation spends, they're generating about £5 worth of social value, which is absolutely incredible, and a really good thing that they're doing. I think, yeah, the more they're able to do, the better, to be honest. They've had a lot of successful events this year, and it's great that people are still able to support the charity and to donate and spend their money on the charity and helping people out when times have been tough in the last few years. So it's really good to see.
No, that's really good, and you can tell the way you talk about it. And this is quite a common theme with a lot of the people we've interviewed for the series. You can tell you're sort of passionate about both the football side, the business side, but also the community aspects. So that's really good. So we spoke about Saints for a lot. I'm going to just finish on the last bit, talking a bit more about you. So, did you always want to be an accountant, or really did you want to be a footballer?
No, yeah, I must admit, accountant wasn't kind of on my agenda. I didn't even know what the word meant probably in the first 10 years of my life. Being perfectly honest, I actually wanted to be a TV presenter when I was very young.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know where it came from.
Finally get to live out your dream. Huh?
Oh yeah, in front of the camera, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I never did anything with it. And obviously, yeah, like all kids, want to be a footballer. So yeah, I used to come to all the junior Saints camps when I was a kid. Matt Letizia was my idol growing up, and yeah, I still play a bit now. So I played quite a lot as a kid, and then I still try and play kind of once a week now if I can. But yeah, no, being an accountant wasn't ever kind of on the agenda.
And I hope you don't mind me saying your dad's an accountant.
Yeah, no, of course not. Yeah.
Did he inspire?
I say he was an accountant, but he's actually just gone back to work. He's doing a bit of part-time stuff for the time being. But yeah.
Good. Did he inspire you to follow in his footsteps? Was he pushing you down that route?
Not at all. No. So I don't think my mum or dad kind of pushed me into any direction at all.
Yeah.
I was really lucky with my upbringing. They supported me loads without being pushy at all. I ended up doing a law degree at Bristol, so I, again, wasn't really thinking of accountancy at all, and actually kind of fell into accountancy when I graduated with the role at Deloitte. I'm very, very grateful that I did. But yeah, no, he obviously inspired me, but not necessarily to become an accountant. But yeah, he never really pushed me into it at all. But yeah, we've ended up with a family of accountants. My wife is an accountant. And my cousin is also training to become an accountant as well. So yeah, there's lots of us in the family.
We're going to see 3 generations of driver accountants.
Yeah, we probably will. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Are there any other sort of podcasts or other forms of media that sort of you would recommend for inspiration, in be it with dealing with change, as we're talking about here, be it with anything really?
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, I think the podcast I enjoy the most and listen to the most is the Parenting Hell one. So as a new father of 2 very young girls, I think adapting to change to becoming a parent was probably one of the biggest changes you'll ever have. So it's not really career aspirational, but I absolutely love it. And yeah, I think it's great. From a more kind of career focused point of view, I listen to the Price of Football podcast, which I'm sure you've probably heard of. I've listened to that since day one. And kind of heard that evolve over the years. Kieran's very accurate with what he says, and yeah, I think that's probably the only one that's kind of financy focused that I listen to. Everything else is much more sport based.
Which change has been harder, dealing with this day to day or becoming a parent?
Oh, good question. Do you know what? Probably here. I think my wife and I were quite ready for kids when we had them. So I think, yeah, that change was one we were kind of really looking forward to and very, very ready for. And whilst very difficult and challenging, it's a little bit more in your control than it is working at a football club. I think, yeah, kind of where we do everything we can within the finance team to control what we control and to kind of manage that change. But ultimately, we're at the whim of the kind of 11 footballers who grace the pitch on the Saturday. So yeah, I think that's probably the harder one because you have less influence on what you're doing.
And I guess lastly, again, a question we've asked to everyone: what's the, either professionally or personally, we've had a real mix. What's the most important piece of advice you've sort of received and you think you live by?
There's kind of 2 which are linked. So one of them actually comes from the Parenting Hell podcast, which I listen to, which is around idiot tax. So Josh Widdicombe has what he calls an idiot tax. So I think if he cracks his windscreen or gets a parking ticket or a speeding ticket or anything like that, it will just put down a notional amount of kind of a couple of £100 every year, which you'll just put down to the edit tax. So if you do something stupid, if you book 2 trains to the same event, you just accept it. You accept you've made the mistake, put it down to the edit tax and move on. I very much kind of live by the mantra that everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
I think even the way I kind of found my way into this role originally was kind of a bit by chance, and it was a bit of unusual circumstances. So I very much live by the fact that everything happens for a reason, good or bad. And if something bad does happen, then like I mentioned earlier, trying to turn that into a positive outcome or a positive opportunity is really important.
Good. Well, look, Dave, that's been really great. Thank you so much for your time.